I actually wrote a book in my engineering, which was a science fiction book.
How did that lead to the entrepreneur getting born and the first person to come out of Futr Studios?
KYRA is a 21-year-old AI influencer from Mumbai. She has come from a virtual world and she's on a journey to discover herself and discover our world.
You guys didn't really create KYRA just as an AI influencer, but also as somebody that one could talk to as well.
We announced it on KYRA's page that now you can talk to KYRA. Within an hour, we got 2,000 messages all at once and Instagram crashed.
Did she face cyberbullying?
Surprisingly, there are people who would bully a virtual influencer also.
How is AI transforming the influencer space in India and globally too?
So there are two ways it will impact. One is
a lot of the sharks extensively spoke about the lack of KYRA's story.
मुझे लग रहा है कि तुम ना discrete pieces पे काम कर रहे हो. The tasteful storytelling part of it, that is the real thing that you need to create.
How can AI redefine the creator economy?
I think whatever we have seen in India's creator economy, people think that this is the peak. I think the peak is going to be much bigger and it is yet to come.
Himanshu, welcome to the hot seat by A Media House. Good morning, early morning, good shoot. How are you guys?
I'm feeling good. Thank you so much for having me.
Totally our pleasure. Himanshu, let's talk about, of course, the company. We'll talk about the two very, very unique identities that you guys have created. We'll talk about those. Lekin, let's get to know Himanshu, the person, a little bit as well. So tell us a little about आपकी childhood के बारे में. Tell us a little about the early years and what all led to the entrepreneurial KYRA coming into you?
Right. So I've been born and brought up in Chandigarh, and most of my life I stayed there for 20 years almost. Did my engineering there as well. I was always interested in sports, gaming, anything tech. Whenever smartphones started coming up, I was always the first one to, try opening up gadgets and tools. So always had a fascination with technology. And that's why I also went for engineering. I thought I'll become a coder. I'll maybe make some applications because I was always on the computer, not for coding, but for playing games or surfing the internet. But in my first year, I realized that coding was not for me. I tried to code it. So I was just not a technical person. I was not able to code. So I decided to go into creativity. I actually read a lot. So I started reading in 9th, 10th class, Harry Potter, all those fantasy books and science fiction books, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I started writing as well. So in my engineering, I was more than coding, I was writing. So I actually wrote a book in my engineering, which was a science fiction book.
Wow.
Which
50% engineers के साथ ऐसा होता है. 50% engineers are into engineering, 50% are doing something else, either singing or some artistic line. So tell us about the book.
Right. So it's called Tulsi. It's a science fiction book set in 2050. It's a science fiction thriller. I was reading a lot of Dan Brown those days. So inspired by that as well. There was an AI in the book also. So a fictional AI. And always been fascinated with science fiction. I love to watch Star Trek. Even now, currently, I'm rewatching Star Trek Season 1 and Season 2, the original series with Captain Kirk and Spock. So always been fascinated with gaming, science fiction, all the geeky things. Then after engineering, I realized coding wasn't for me. So I did not apply for the typical Infosys or all the coding companies. I directly went into MBA. Did my MBA from MICA, Ahmedabad, in marketing. So had interest in creativity, had interest in telling stories in fiction or telling stories about brands. And in MICA also, I wrote a couple of books. So poetry and fiction, and these books are still on Amazon. Since the past 2 years, I haven't written anything because most of my focus has been on Futr Studios and the startup. And so poetry and fiction, so always wanted to do something on my own. After MBA, we directly got into a company called Topline India, which was a marketing company. They had an influencer marketing wing called Top Social India. And whenever Instagram started, I also made my profile. So very interestingly, I had a food blogging page. So it was called Lighthouse Foodie, and I had about 40,000 followers, and I just posted reviews of food, etc. Got a lot of free food in Ahmedabad. Was invited by a lot of cafes. Uh, because of that, the company thought that I would be the right person. So I was a fresher then to be placed in a influencer marketing part of the company.
And this was which year?
This was 2019.
Cool.
So for 3-4 years, I worked in influencer marketing. I worked with hundreds of influencers, right from micro influencers with 10-15,000 followers to people with millions of followers.
So that's when COVID got hit as well.
COVID happened in 2020.
Yeah, a year later.
Yeah.
And you saw that the market became even more relevant for influencers, because at that point of time, even at home, they were being able to do those brand deals. So tell us a little about how you saw that the industry changed after COVID.
So definitely everyone was at home and everyone was on their phone and they were consuming content. There were challenges also that, for example, travel bloggers couldn't go out. So they were making content at home. I think watch times during those 2 years were the maximum. So channels all-time high. Channels received their maximum views. Some of them got their maximum subscriber boost. Then the subscribers grew. Initially, there was a lot of skepticism that will the brands continue or not. But I think 3-4 months down the line, the brand deals started coming again. There was a pause for 2-3 months. But considering the watch time that everyone was spending time on their phone, people were finding new hobbies. People were finding new ways to do fitness at home. So fitness YouTubers got a big boost. So everything that you could do at home got a big boost in those 2 years. And even I invested some time to write as well. During those years, I wrote a couple of books during the pandemic also. So for anything related to what you could do on your phone was a major beneficiary in the COVID times. Even Metaverse concept picked up a lot because people were at home, people were doing Zoom, and no one just wanted to be on Zoom on a 2D screen. People wanted to explore 3D as well. That's when Metaverse got a big boom. Even gaming got a big boom in the COVID times. Not for gaming development, but whatever games were released before, people played a lot more in the pandemic years.
So yes, tell us all of this experience in that company as well, in the influencer marketing industry as well. How did that lead to the entrepreneur getting born and the first person to come out of Futr Studios, the first AI person? Tell us that.
Right. So we were in influencer marketing. So what happened in influencer marketing was that unless you have your own creators that you have signed exclusively, if some campaign is coming for 10 lakhs, you're charging 10-15%, which was the standard 1.5 lakhs that you were able to get by. What happened was that every other month there was a new influencer marketing agency coming on, and they would charge 5%, or they would even take campaigns on a loss. They would charge negatively. They would charge less than what the influencer is charging just to get the brand on board.
Right.
So it wasn't a sustainable business. It was a downward spiral. We did decent business. We did like 5 to 10 crores in our best year in influencer marketing at that time, which was pretty good. Even now, I would say. But it was a downward spiral. The margins we were not able to maintain. So we always wanted to protect ourselves. We tried having our own influencers also signed exclusively. At that time, we discovered that there was a virtual influencer in US called Lil Michaela. So this Michaela profile had 3 million followers. She had worked with Samsung. She had worked with Prada. She had worked with Calvin Klein. But she did not exist. She was Time's most influential person on the internet, one of the 25 people. But there was no person like her. And similarly, so we got more interested into it. We researched more and more. Then we saw there was another influencer called Ima from Japan. There was one called Rosie from Korea. And every country had a virtual influencer except India. So we, like 2-3 months we were researching. We thought someone would definitely come up with this who has experience in building 3D, because that time Gen AI wasn't as advanced. So it wasn't possible just to type and have your influencer there.
Exactly.
So we waited 2-3 months, and Then we had the crazy idea, hey, why don't we do it ourselves? What's the worst that could happen? So I personally talked to 30-40 3D artists. So that was a challenge for us. Find the right 3D artist in India. So typically, so all the movies that you see, their art direction is done in the US and the busy work is done in India.
Oh, yeah.
So their back offices are in India, all these big animation houses. The direction comes from the West, or the IP comes from the West, and they do the busy work. And 3D production is a long and grueling task. It takes,
As a matter of fact, if you look at some of the biggest Marvel movies as well, you look at the credits, the minute VFX work starts,
yeah,
you will see lines say Indian names.
Absolutely.
Lines say only Indian names and Asian names, and all of that work is happening in India only.
absolutely.
So, yes, tell us.
So we were struggling to find a good artist that could match the level of what people were doing in the US and Japan. I think Japan and Germany, they have some of the best production in the world. Germany is always known for their quality, and Japan is always ahead when it comes to technology, especially comes to virtual characters. They had virtual characters in 2000s also. They had a 2D animation singer called
Wow.
Hatsune Miku, which is a singer which has millions of followers. So finally, we found a team that we were happy with, and we created KYRA, first version of KYRA. There were multiple versions, but in Jan 2022, we launched KYRA on Instagram. It was a long process. For 3 to 6 months, it was just posting content regularly. No one knew that we were doing this. No one recognized her because, of course, just an Instagram page, no one would recognize instantly. But in the third month, we posted a reel so we recreated Jaipur's Amer Fort in 3D, and we made KYRA wear a lehenga and do a walk. It was a transition reel that got 1 million views for us. We got about 50,000 followers, and a couple of newspaper articles covered her. Then a lot, like 10-15 newspapers covered that article. Then she got into the mainstream. Even then, it was like no one was recognizing her as the first one, because of course we have to establish ourselves. Then because of followers, it all came together. We grew more followers. We got to about 100K. Then we started getting approached by brands. So rather than having to go to brands ourselves, brands were coming to us. And we were lucky enough that Boat wanted to work with us. So Boat was the first campaign that we did. It was for a neckband which had ANC. So this was the first time in India that a neckband had an ANC. So they were calling it the future of audio. They were working with an audio company called Dirac. And because it was the future of audio and we were calling KYRA the future of influencers, it made perfect sense. And that campaign was a big hit. So we created a whole digital film with them where KYRA unveiled the product. It got over 10-15 million views within a week. It got covered in a lot of media. And since then, it has been an upward journey. We've gotten brands, we've gotten a lot of followers, we've gotten media coverage. KYRA also has now been on the cover of magazines. She has even received awards. So there's a new category now, AI Creator of the Year also. So it's been a fascinating journey. And all of this is 3D. This is before Gen AI.
Gen AI came in.
Now, of course, everything has to do with Gen AI. But that was the journey. That was how we got from an influencer marketing agency. Because of the decreasing margins, we had to shut that down. And we formed this new AI influencer company.
I want to ask you, for somebody who doesn't know about her, if one has to ask you, who is KYRA, what is KYRA?
Right. So KYRA is a 21-year-old influencer AI from Mumbai. She is a bold personality. She loves to explore new things. She has come from a different world than us. She has come from a virtual world. So she's fascinated by humans. She loves to interact with humans. And she's on a journey to discover herself and discover our world in that journey.
Tell me something. You guys didn't really create KYRA just as an AI influencer, as a virtual influencer, but also as somebody that one could talk to as well. Tell us
Yes.
about those features a little.
Yes. So in Futr Studios, we believe there's huge potential between human AI interaction. So that is what we really want to promote. So when GPT became big, technology allowed us to open KYRA's DM, that you could, if we were already getting a lot of DMs, right? So when KYRA got popular, people were just trying, would she respond or not?
What kind of DMs were you guys getting?
So it's all sort of DMs, right? You would expect that in India, people would go in the sleazy direction, right? But that was like 5 to 10%.
But that was also there.
That was there, but very little. Like we expected it to be more, but 90% were actually people fascinated with a virtual influencer. That human AI thing, right? People.
That's great.
So I was researching recently, of course, since we are in the field. The very first chatbot was Aliza. This was in 1967. Even then, there was no Gen AI, right? It was very simple chatbot. But even then, people were very fascinated. So the assistant of the professor who made it, she said, "Can you leave the room? I want to talk to Aliza." So people have always been fascinated by the human AI interaction. So people were asking questions: Are you real? Are you virtual? Can you pass the Turing test? These were the kind of questions we were getting in KYRA's DM. When GPT came, it allowed, the technology caught up to the people's imagination. So we just flipped the switch on. We didn't announce it, and KYRA was responding. So over the past 3-4 months, she talked to over 10,000 people, about 300,000 messages, and all sorts of conversations. There is a security layer over it, so we cannot read the messages, but we cannot read who's sending the messages, but we can see the content of the messages. So it was about companionship. People just want someone to talk to. With GPT, they would go and they would say, "Can you fill this assignment for me? Can you help me answer this question?" With KYRA, they would just say, "Hi, can you recommend me a movie? I want to go to this place." Some people would say, "I had a breakup." So we are very much interested in this part of the journey. More than the brands, I think this is where the real potential is, the human AI interaction and how we can explore that. So after GPT caught up, we experimented this. In 3 months later, we announced it on KYRA's page that now you can talk to KYRA. She just made a post, "Hey, drop me a hi, slide in my DMs," is what we said. The moment we announced it, within an hour, we got 2,000 messages all at once, and Instagram crashed. We were not able to operate KYRA's Instagram because so many messages came in. Now we are focusing on expanding her to WhatsApp, Telegram, Instagram, so you can talk to her wherever, so we can handle the traffic. So this is the part where we really think the potential is. Human AI interaction is going to be much bigger in the coming years, and we really want to. We don't want it to be very robotic, right? We don't want another, like Siri and Alexa were always there, but they never felt human-like. They never felt. We like to interact with personalities. We don't want to talk to machines. So we really want to put these personalities that have their own lives, that have a personality, that can talk to you about interesting things. It just isn't answering questions or answering queries. So that is the part where we are putting a lot of our energies on.
Can you elaborate on the AI tools and say the 3D softwares, say like you've mentioned Unreal Engine and Maya? What were those that were being used while creating KYRA?
Right. So initially, Gen AI wasn't as advanced. So we had to go to the 3D route. In 3D, in general, there were two ways people were making virtual influencers. One is, so in 3D, you sculpt the face. You take a ball and you sculpt the face from a single ball. The second option is you use deepfake. You take an existing person, you create a character, and you replace the face of that person. So we had two options. And in deepfake, ultimately, you are relying on a real person because you need a body double always to create content. So we decided we have to go into the 3D direction. Tools isn't always important. The artists are more important. So we have used 7-8 tools. We have used Unreal Engine, we have used Cinema 4D, we have used Blender, we have used Maya. But the tools were never important. It's always the artist. So some artists would prefer to use Blender, some artists prefer to use Maya, and they all have different pros and cons. So initially we were using all these tools. It's very difficult. So creating an image is easy. We can create it in a day. But to create a video, it took us like 7 to 10 days. In 2024 only, throughout 2023, we were experimenting with the conversation part of AI. that you could talk to KYRA. In 2024, we started experimenting Gen AI as content. So we trained KYRA's 3D face on Gen AI. So we used all the latest image models, video models, and now we finally, in the past 5 to 6 months, we have been able to transfer KYRA from 3D to 2D, so 3D to AI.
Right.
So what took us 10 days to make is now taking us 10 minutes. So that's the leap we have taken coming from 3D to AI. And definitely now we are 100% AI. We aren't doing 3D anymore. Unless I believe that 3D will adopt AI as well. So whatever is taking time in the 3D process, because it gives you a lot of control. But for now, we are 100% AI. We have stopped using 3D.
I want to ask you if, in short, you can tell us, before the AI boom happened and the Gen AI boom happened, the tools that you guys were using, what were some of the biggest technical hurdles that were coming in your way while formulating KYRA in the first initial few months?
Right. So 3D, like I said, it was difficult to find artists, to find great artists. It took a lot of time. You needed a lot of resources. And there were very few people in India who work in 3D who are talented, especially with humans. So there are a lot of product people in 3D, right? Making product bottles or 3D animation for like earphones, etc. But working with people, it's much different than working with a product or working with a bottle. You have to take into accounts the skin, the texture, the expressions. So that was one major challenge, to get her to be as realistic as possible. So we were constantly in the battle of upgrading her skin, upgrading her expressions. That was a lot of technical challenges that we faced during the time with 3D.
You know, this is something that you mentioned as well. The phrase that a lot of people have heard of, but still many don't know what it actually means. So if you can tell us, what is Metaverse and what it means and what it is?
Right. So Metaverse is a combination of 3-4 technologies. One is a virtual world, typically through a VR glass or an AR glass. Second is the social aspect, that we are all in this virtual world together. And third is that we can buy things, we can personalize ourselves. So it's a combination of gaming, social environment, and a new format of viewing things, which is through virtual. So I still believe Metaverse will happen, maybe in the next 5 years, if not in the next 2-3 years, maybe 5 to 10 years is a frame. When KYRA came, Facebook had recently changed its name to Meta. So everyone was big on Metaverse, but I feel that the technology wasn't there for the concept. Like, our imagination was working faster than the technology. But if you think about it, for the past 20 years, we have been interacting with rectangular slabs, which is our smartphones, right? That is not the way humans are meant to interact. Either they're meant to interact in person or through, even video call is better. But imagine if this is happening, but it's happening virtually. We have our holograms and it's almost 70 to 80% there. So that is essentially the concept of Metaverse. It's a social experience through technology. You can be wherever you want. You can have all the things that you have in your real world, whether it's shops, whether it's sporting events, whether it's gaming, in a virtual world, just sitting at your home.
You mentioned sporting events. I know it for a fact that you're an ardent football fan, right?
Yeah.
I am an ardent cricket fan. So let's take, for an example, a big match between two big teams, say in Wankhede or Eden Gardens, Chinnaswamy here in Bangalore, Lords, or a football match, El Clasico, being watched live. We know it for a fact that laptop screen can't even give 1% of the experience that we get while watching it live in the stadium. How can say Metaverse VR headset, how can even that come close to giving that kind of an experience?
Right. So I won't say that kind of experience, but in the El Clasico or in any of these stadiums, the seats are limited, right? Maybe Narendra Modi Stadium has the maximum seats. It has about 1.3 lakh seats, but 1.3 lakhs. How many people actually watch a big cricket match? It's 10, 100 times more than that. So NBA has already done this. In NBA, you can have a VR headset and you can sit courtside. So courtside is one of their best positions to watch a match.
Yes.
So you can have the best seat in the match. You can look around. you can have an augmentation of the sports experience also. So you can have your stats of the match come up as heads up display. You can see what's going on. You can see the trajectory of the ball. You can zoom in, etc. So right now it won't be there because we are limited by technology, right? Our imagination is limited by the technology of the times. So whatever headset we're using, either we're using Apple Vision Pro or we're using MetaQuest 3. So it's a very bulky headset. You feel the heaviness of it. But imagine in 5 years, we have come from like those big telephones to a very sleek iPhone right now. Where will these VR headset be in 5 years? Imagine if it's just like this spectacles and we are having the same experience at home. We are in the best seat in the stadium. Of course, I'm not saying it's replacing being in the actual stadium, but not everyone can be there, right? If you're watching a match in Spain, it's not possible for people in India, for everyone to fly to Spain and watch a match. So that will, instead of watching it on TV or watching it on your phone, you can watch it in VR. And here is where the metaverse part comes in. You can have your friend sitting beside you. Their hologram will be visible to you. You can interact with them just like you would do in a real life environment. And you can watch the match together, being in the best seats in the house. So that's the kind of experiences will be possible with metaverses. You can apply the same to concerts. You can apply the same to gaming. So that is what excites me. But to be fair, the technology just isn't there yet. There is a lot of work to be done to get to that point.
Are any other sports doing it apart from NBA?
Concerts are doing it. NBA is doing it. But I'm not aware of any other sports as of now.
All right, let's talk about the content that you guys are forming with KYRA. How do you address, say, ethical concerns related to virtual influencers, such as potential misinformation?
Right. So we believe in transparency. So right now, Meta and YouTube has an option that you can disclose that this content is AI generated. Even when we didn't have the option, we always disclosed. Before Meta came in and allowed you to disclose it, we disclosed it beforehand also. If you talk to KYRA, if you go on Instagram and you message KYRA, if you ask her, are you real or not, she will say, I'm your virtual buddy, I'm not real. She will very clearly say that.
And it is mentioned also.
It's the first thing is mentioned that she is virtual. We have another influencer called Shravya. On her name itself, it's mentioned that she's an AI agent. She's not real. So transparency is very important. That the user should know, are they consuming content that is real? Are they talking to a person that is real or not? So we always make sure we go out of our way to ensure that the human knows that they're interacting with an AI. There are companies that do not disclose it, that just post content. They never disclose that it's AI. They let people think that it's a real human. There are companions that you can talk to, that if you ask them, are you real or not, they will say that I am real.
Ouch. So that's where the problem comes in.
That is where the problem comes in. I think as developers of these technologies, we have a responsibility, but everyone is not like us, right? There will be people who will exploit it. That is where I think Meta and YouTube are coming in, and they are automatically labeling content as AI, even if the creator is not disclosing it.
And government guidelines are coming in this as well? Yeah.
Government guidelines are coming in as well. I think it requires everyone to come together. The platforms, the government, the developers of these technologies, everyone needs to come together and form guidelines. It shouldn't hinder the technology, right? Because if you're being transparent, I don't see any problem in we have always interacted with machines. If there is a better way to interact with machines, I feel it's a net positive. But the guidelines need to be there in place.
You were talking about the interactions. I want to ask you, and you can tell me quickly, did this scenario ever come about where KYRA gave a reply to a question in a way that you guys didn't expect? Did something like that ever happen, that this is not the right answer that we were expecting to this? And if something like that happened, how did you guys correct it?
Right. So we have set constraints when it comes to KYRA. So KYRA doesn't talk about religion or politics or sexual content. So we have set those constraints. And so far, she hasn't, no one has been able to. So there's a term called jailbreaking AI.
Correct.
So no one has been able to jailbreak KYRA's algorithm so far. We are surprised by how human she sounds. So she would say, "Kya haal hai yaar?" So she would use terms like yaar. She would use all these small Hindi lingos that feel very like you're talking to a real person. You can even send her a photo and she would interact. So we sent her a photo of a cricket match. She would say Chennai is playing very well because she recognized the yellow jersey. So we are surprised by the level of personalization, how human she feels like when she's talking. So that was surprising to us. People are trying to jailbreak AIs all the time. So far, luckily, she hasn't been. No one has been able to do it, but that is something we really look at. That the safety constraints are there, and people don't misuse AI. And we are surprised by the human-like conversations she's having right now.
How many regional languages are available right now?
So it's about 10 to 11, but she's not as good in all the languages. That is something we are working on. And I think everyone is working on the same. Hindi, it's pretty good. Major languages, major regional languages, it's pretty good, like Tamil, Telugu, etc. But there is still a lot of work that needs to be done.
Did Futr Studios develop, say, any proprietary AI models or algorithms while KYRA was being created?
So there are two sides. There's content and conversation. On content, we have developed a lot of custom pipelines. I won't say anything is proprietary because everything is open source. We've built on top of open source. We use a combination of open source and closed source models. And content part is something that we have worked a lot on. We worked a lot on the character consistency. So KYRA should always look like KYRA. That was the major challenge when it comes to AI image or video models, that in the first frame it would look like a person, and in the second frame it would look like a completely different person. So we have been able to crack character consistency a lot. Now it's become easier, but even before other people were doing it, we were able to crack character consistency in AI. In conversation, we have, because so many people are talking to KYRA, we have a lot of first party data. So we have about 200,000, 300,000 messages that we can train the AI on that no one else has. So that is one of our advantages, and these are not like a regular conversation. These are like very human-like, friendly conversations that is unique to KYRA and unique to us. So training on that data has allowed us to give better results than what other AIs are out there. But it's in AI, every 2 months a new technology is coming. I won't say even 2 months. Every 2 weeks something new is coming up. So the key part here is to constantly keep upgrading whatever you're using, constantly keep using the new tech, especially in content. Every week there's something new that comes up. Recently, Runway, in 3 weeks they announced 3 new features. So every day we have to constantly see what are the top models, and we are agnostic about technology. We are a content company. We are a human AI interaction company. Whatever is giving us the best result, we use that model.
Have you all tried Sora for KYRA's content?
So Sora is not publicly available. And recently, I don't know if you've heard about it, Sora leak happened.
Oh yes, that happened.
Right.
For 3 hours it was there.
Yes. So Sora, 300 artists approximately were given access to it by OpenAI. And those artists have now, some of those artists have protested that you were using artists as unpaid labor, or you were using artists as PR, you were not paying them. And they leaked Sora on Hugging Face, which is a popular platform for models to be hosted on. OpenAI is saying that it was voluntary. That they were under no obligation to do R&D for. So there's a big debate between artists and these video models. So Sora has never been, it's very limited, right? It's 300 artists. I don't think anyone in India had access to Sora. But Sora was announced in February. In those 8 months, other models have caught up. When they announced it, there was no model like Sora. We were blown away. But now both closed source and open source video models have caught up. And I don't think it's that holy grail anymore. We are happy with the quality that the other models are giving us. Right now, the challenge is in terms of 10 to 15 second videos, it's working pretty well. Now the challenge is to make long format storytelling. So starting with 60 seconds, then maybe 5 minutes of videos, then maybe someday a whole movie can be made with AI. So that is the challenge where we are at right now. Visual fidelity, I think, has come a long way in the last 6 to 8 months.
You have a lot of experience in the influencer marketing business. So let's talk about how is AI transforming the influencer space in India and globally too.
Right. So there are two ways it will impact. One is actual AI influencers, which is of course what KYRA is doing. So how they're different is it's available 24/7. For example, we did a campaign with American Tourister where we covered 6 countries. Of course, we never traveled to any of those countries. Everything was done virtually.
So a lot of cost saved there.
A lot of cost saved there. There's no limit to what kind of content can be created. So KYRA can be in space. So she worked with Realme, where the phone was orange in color. They wanted to relate it to Mars. So we made a 3D environment in Mars to create the shoot for that smartphone. The second thing, how it will impact is real influencers using AI to enhance their content, which a lot of people are already doing. So it started with writing scripts with AI or getting content ideas from AI. The second part is actually creating their AI twins. So a lot of people have created their AI twins. Even I have created my own AI twin to create content around AI only. So now what used to take me 1 hour to shoot, 2 hour to shoot, and every day I had to dedicate an entire time for shooting. I can just type whatever I want in the script and the editor can make the edit. And within 5 minutes, I can have a video what would normally take me a whole 2 to 3 hours of dedicated time.
And which platform are you using?
So I'm using a different combination of platforms. Again, I always say platform doesn't matter. What I'm using right now, 2 months later, I might be using something else. Right now, I think everyone is using HeyGen.
Same.
There are like DIDs there, Synthesia is there. For me, HeyGen is the most user-friendly and quickest platform to create content on. Similarly, now so HeyGen is just one use case. It's talking head videos. There are video tools which are allowing you to train your face. You give them 5 seconds of footage, 10-15 videos, and then you can just type out Himanshu in space in an astronaut suit and it will give you that output.
Right.
So all these tools are being made. Like I said, HeyGen is just talking head. There are other tools that will do this. Always think about the content. Don't think about the tool too much. That is what I would say to all the content creators out there. But this is a trend that we'll see for sure, that real influencers will start using AI. Now, we were talking about the content creation part. They can also try it in the conversation part of it. That you can just give it your social media links. It will understand your personality and it can at least do the first level of conversation with your fans on Instagram, on WhatsApp. I think that is a trend that we'll see and we are seeing with real influencers and of course AI influencers, which we are already doing.
So already the impact is coming about, but if you can tell us in the near future, how can AI redefine the creator economy?
Right. So I think whatever we have seen in India's creator economy, people think that this is the peak. I think the peak is going to be much bigger and it is yet to come. So like people say there are too many podcasts. We are on a podcast right now. I think like it's a good time to be a creator, to be in the podcast field, and AI is going to supercharge everything. So your content creation, your editing, your production costs, a lot more people will be able to participate in this economy. Previously, you needed to have like a presentable face. You needed to be very active on camera. Now you can have a virtual avatar. You can still get your thoughts out there. So it will allow, I would say, 10x more people to participate in this economy than previously possible.
But this is something that, say, Tanmay and Varun were discussing in one of their videos as well. This conversation is not possible with AI right now. It's not possible with AI even in the pretty near future. What would you say to that?
So this conversation, this is a very high production setup, right? And there are varying levels of production. What AI will enable people to do is at a low production quality, match the high level of production. So like most people don't know how to set up a green screen at all. Now AI has made it so easy that you one click it and it replaces the background. You one click it and it converts normal audio to studio quality audio. not everything is perfect right now, but it's getting there. So at a much lower production quality, you can get this level of output, right? So it will enable people who are not able to afford such a setup to participate in this, to create content like this. And people are not usually judged on their production quality, right? It's how what is the content
It's
that you're
the conversation,
speaking.
the
It's the
content.
conversation,
Totally.
right? So it will allow people to catch up in production quality, and then people can be judged on purely on the conversation. So maybe it's not possible to have. There are people like, have you heard about Notebook LLM?
Yes.
Right, Notebook LLM. You upload a document, it converts it into a podcast. So people are using it as a learning tool. So it is already happening, but it's not human conversation.
Correct.
You cannot have deep conversations through AI. But you can enhance your existing content. You can enhance whatever you're already doing with AI, is what I believe.
Now, Himanshu, I want to ask you a question which I'm pretty curious about. Why did you guys choose for a lady as your first AI influencer?
So it was a team decision and it was a business decision also. So if you look at most of the popular influencers, especially in the fashion lifestyle space, it's mostly female, right? Especially fashion.
Especially fashion, makeup. I mean, the numbers are changing now. There are quite a few guys coming in as well.
Typically, I don't know, maybe we are generalizing, but if you look at more visual fields, it's typically female. But if you look at spaces like comedy, it's more male. And creating a talking virtual influencer is much more difficult than creating a very, visually stunning virtual influencer. So that was definitely a business decision, that if you have to get followers the fastest, which would be the category that would get us brands, that would get us followers. And in general, as a team also, we have people from NIFT who are interested in fashion, that want to create different outfits in the 3D space, now in the AI space. So we wanted to create a virtual influencer that is female, that is in the fashion space, in the lifestyle space. We can create all sorts of content around it. So that were the discussions we had. For male, we are currently exploring comedy as a category. If we can have AI comedians,
Interesting.
We don't know if they will be able to match the humor of an actual person, but that is something that we are exploring.
And now Samay has taken it to a different level.
Yeah. So like comedians, obviously there are trailbreakers on each side, where male fashion people, male people in makeup also, and female comedians that are doing great. But their sort of roles, like more male comedians are famous, more in number than female comedians. So male comedy is something that we are exploring. Fitness is something that we are exploring. Fitness person that could help with your workouts, etc. So these are the categories that we are exploring in the male category. And female, of course, because of a team decision and a business decision, was why we decided first to go with KYRA.
And why the name KYRA?
So we are a team of marketers. We had 5-6 names that were shortlisted.
Can you tell us one or two of those?
I wouldn't remember. This was 2.5 years ago.
Right.
But we didn't want to have a surname. We did not want her to have a religion. We wanted to be very trendy. There's another factor that there is no other name that's on a first name basis that's already popular. For example, if we go with Alia, everyone would come to Alia Bhatt. If we go with Ananya, most people would find Ananya Pandey. So we wanted to have KYRA. There is Kiara Advani, of course, but it's a different spelling. So if you search KYRA, most likely you will find KYRA, our virtual influencer. So we wanted her to be popular on a first name basis also. So these were some of the factors that came in when we decided to name her KYRA.
I want to ask one thing. As far as comments and DMs are concerned, did she face cyberbullying? And if she did, how did you guys handle that?
So surprisingly, there are people who would bully a virtual influencer also. I think in comments you can see, right? In every viral Insta post, there's some random astrologer that comes in and gives like 100-line comment. You'll find these on all those celebrities. There will be people who will comment 100 times. These could be normal comments or these could be abuses, etc. It is 5 to 10%. Like we expected it to be more, but it is not that much. People are genuinely engaging with the content. They're understanding what we're talking about, even complex topics. When we were telling KYRA's story that I came from the metaverse, I want to discover the human world, people were actually engaging with her on these topics. It wasn't just surface level, they were going deep. Even in conversations, they're going deep. They're talking to her about concepts of AI, concepts of human AI interaction. So we are happy with the overall response we have gotten, the overall conversation that is happening. But definitely there are those 5 to 10%. I think with AI, there's a great opportunity. With real human, if someone is bullied, that's obviously horrible. But with AI, we can actually come from a position to educate these people. So KYRA wouldn't stop responding. She would say, hey, this is not the way to talk. Maybe this is how you should approach it. So there is an opportunity here with AI that we can educate these people and we can start raising awareness about these issues.
So recently, Gemini had this incident where there were major hallucinations and almost threatening messages to a person who was chatting with Gemini. You mentioned Elise, and Elise had the same situation multiple years ago as well. How are you all planning to control possible hallucinations?
Right. So Gemini is a very general use case. We are specific that we are having AI companions. We have put a lot of constraints in mind. I think again, transparency is what's important in this case. So from the offset, we'll say, hey, you're talking to a virtual person. This is a developing technology. You're talking to an AI. Keep that in mind. So we want to first inform the user that you're not talking to a real person. We can always place constraints that it doesn't hallucinate, but it is not possible. It is technology, whether it's 1% or 0.01% or 0.001%, it will eventually hallucinate and might say something which is not appropriate. So far, it hasn't happened because it's more of a personalized use case. It's not like you're doing your science questions with KYRA. Although interestingly, people have sent their maths homework to KYRA also.
Did it get solved?
It did get solved.
Wow.
So KYRA did help people with their homework also. So I think being transparent is the solution to all of these things, that you always inform the people that if the technology is not evolved, then you tell them, hey, it can do this, but it cannot do this. For example, we will never claim that we are a therapist or we are a mental health person. If the conversation goes there, we'll say, these are the authorities. Please contact them. I'm there for you. But for this, please talk to them. We would love to go to a place where if we find something, the authorities automatically get notified and they can deal with that. So I think there are a lot of important calls that need to be made when it comes to AI chat, AI human interactions. And the number one thing is to be transparent. If the company behind the AI, like for example, Google, Meta, they are not always known to be transparent, right? Their algorithms are always like a black box. You don't know what's happening. It shouldn't be the case with AI. The consequences can be much more dangerous when it comes to AI. So being transparent is more important than ever in this case.
Okay, now let's talk about a show that I and multiple other people out there absolutely love. Let's talk about Shark Tank. You and your co-founder, George, you guys went there. Tell us what the experience was like. What kind of feedback did you all get? Tell us what that was like.
So Shark Tank, I used to watch, and I always had this idea, George and me, that if we ever go to Shark Tank, we don't want to present Futr Studios ourselves. We want KYRA to present Futr Studios to the Sharks. So this was only in our pitch. The doors opened and no one came. So the Sharks were looking around that what's happening, and KYRA came on the screen and pitched Futr Studios and herself to the Sharks. So that was a concept that we always had in mind, and I think it was one of the major reasons we appeared on Shark Tank also. The Sharks already knew about KYRA. Most of the Sharks already had seen her Insta page. Some of them had even interacted with KYRA. Aman had shared the boat video. Piyush wasn't there in our pitch, but we had worked with Lenskart also. So wow. He had also shared KYRA's video before. So in the world of marketing, in the world of brands and virtual influencers, the Shark already had an idea. At that time, we were early. So we did not have the conversation piece figured out. We did not have the Gen AI piece figured out then. It was all 3D. It was a lot of operations heavy work that we were doing. So most of the conversation, it was not about revenue, it was not about valuation, it was all about the concept. Will virtual influencers work or not? And at that stage, considering it was 3D, they felt that they're not sure of what the future would be like. I think now, like I said, imagination, technology has caught up with the imagination. Whatever we thought KYRA will be able to do is now she's able to do all of those things. So we got great feedback from Aman and Anupam especially. Anupam mentioned that we need to focus on the story, we need to focus on content, not just branded content, but our regular content. Aman told us to focus on technology. And I feel like in those 1 hours, we got like some of the most valuable feedback. In 1 hour, we got like a whole, typically your investor meetings are like much longer. They go over 3-4 hour meetings, but it was like a super investor meeting condensed into 1 hour. And we have already started working on those feedbacks and we are seeing the results.
And this was shot around like 1 year back, if I'm not wrong.
This was shot exactly around 1 year back.
An episode was telecast like 9-10 months back.
Right. In March. So we shot the episode in October. It was aired in March. So there was a 6-month gap. And of course, we have come a long way in those 6 months. And this happens with all Shark Tank startups. Because startup world in 6 months, it's like 6 years for a normal company.
Totally.
So we had done a lot of stuff in those 6 months. And now 6 months later, we are at a much more further space than we were when it aired as well.
So I went through that entire episode. You mentioned as well that this was something that Anupam gave a feedback. So a lot of the sharks extensively spoke about the lack of KYRA's story.
Right.
They said the page looks great, there are followers, but wo story is not there.
Correct.
Now, even when I was doing my research and going through KYRA's Instagram page completely, I see her putting up one reel congratulating the Indian cricket team. There's a Halloween reel, there's another reel for some other festival. But even now, I couldn't find a story, a narrative, something personal.
Right. So that feedback is true. Most of the past 3 to 4 months, we've been working on shifting from 3D to AI. Now we're confident with AI content. Like I said, long form AI content is still a challenge. And that is what we're working on in the background that you don't see yet. But soon you'll see long form AI content, which has a lot of storytelling elements. What we really want to focus on is the human AI interaction, how KYRA can be that gateway for humans to interact with AI. So you'll start seeing a lot more of KYRA exploring those worlds, those conversations in her content as well. In social media, it is that you have to chase trends also to get followers. So if Halloween is there, you cannot, if Pakistan matches there, you have to cover that as an influencer. So we don't want to miss out on those, but definitely you'll be seeing a lot more story focused content as well.
So what you mentioned as well, that her entire backstory is there, which you mentioned at the start of the podcast, which you mentioned in the episode as well.
Yes.
So what is Futr Studios planning and doing to create that story, for that to come out?
Right. So we are working on long form AI content. Again, there is the imagination, there is the technology. Right now it's not there, but we are working on something that will allow us to tell, just imagine shooting a Marvel movie. A team of 5 to 10 people will be able to do it from their office without any physical shoot.
Wow.
So that is something that we want to work on with whatever we have, rather than saying that it's not there, we need a bigger team. I think AI is the great equalizer, which will enable us to tell stories of that level with a much less team, much less budget. And of course, passion for storytelling, for characters. So that is what we are working on.
What was KYRA's first brand collaboration?
It was both.
What are the charges like for a brand collaboration with KYRA?
So it's similar to, I would say, what an influencer would charge who has about 1 million followers. Of course, we are charging a premium because she's one of the only few virtual influencers around the world with more than 200,000 followers. There's like 30-40 people out there in the world with that much following. So it's similar to an influencer with 1 million followers.
Tell us 2 or 3 of the collaborations that you've done with KYRA, which you're most proud of or most excited of, and that you're very, very happy that those happened?
Right. So definitely boat was our first one. In boat, it was the future of audio, future of influencers. We put KYRA, we created a spaceship. So like I said, I am fascinated by Star Trek, fascinated by science fiction. So we had a spaceship. She landed on that spaceship. She went, she touched the headphones, uh, a lot of special effects. She was flying, floating in the air, wearing the headphones. So we are able to achieve these visuals thanks to her being an AI influencer, being a virtual influencer. To actually shoot this at that time would have been much more expensive. So that is one collaboration that we as a team loved. Another collaboration was with Titan Eye Plus. So they have a smart eyewear called Titan IX2. In that it's smart, so you can receive calls, you can get GPS directions. So we made KYRA into a spy agent. So she went to get the chip of the smartware. So there were lasers, she was dodging the lasers, and the smartware was actually telling her where to go. She was receiving instructions from the eyewear. So it was actually communicating the features of the product while integrating a very nice story, while creating her as a spy character. That was another collaboration that we loved.
What is the financial model looking like for Future Studios right now?
So there are two ways. One is brand collaborations. Definitely, I think a lot of brands are exploring AI content right now, and a lot more will start exploring in 2025. I think almost all the brands will need to accept the fact that AI is here, AI content is here. So that is a huge industry that's going to grow. Second is we want to explore how we can, on the human AI part, how we can monetize that. So personalization is a big deal in AI. So your KYRA will be very different from my KYRA. So you can personalize KYRA, whether it's how she looks, how she talks. It's like a game. You are leveling your KYRA with the more you talk to her, the better she becomes in understanding you. So that is something that we're exploring. There are some features that will be launched in the coming months, in 1 to 2 months. That those will be paid. Right now, talking to KYRA is free, but there will be some features that will be paid. So these are the two ways we're exploring of monetizing KYRA and monetizing Future Studios, and potential for both those things are huge. I think it's up to us on how we can capitalize on this opportunity.
How do you say AI influencers can generate value for brands and marketers? What are some of the potential use cases for AI influencers that can be driven in various sectors?
Right. So if you look at brands, you work with a top influencer. They will post a reel or they'll post two reels. Then they'll never talk about the product again. Right.
Right.
If you message influencer, hey, you made an ad about this smartphone, can you tell me more about it? They will never reply. If you come to an AI influencer, they will always remember that product because it will be in their memory. If you message KYRA, hey, you promoted this smartphone, can you tell me more about it? Then she can tell you features about it. And because they made KYRA into a personality, she'll say that, hey, I clicked this great picture with it. So it'll not just be like a chatbot on a website. It'll be the person KYRA talking about the product. It'll be the influencer talking about the product. Then she can give you the link of the product also. Hey, in case if you want to buy it, you can check it out there. And imagine this at scale, KYRA talking to 1 million people at once, talking about products, etc. So that is the opportunity for brands, that you can have a one-on-one connection with potential customers. Another thing that we're looking at is brands creating their own AI influencers. So mascots have been there for centuries, right? So we have that gecko frog, we have our, of course, Amul girl. Imagine Amul girl being an AI influencer. You could talk to Amul girl. Wow. She has all the latest trends in mind. She can talk to you. She can talk about all the latest cultural trends. And brands that do not have an AI mascot can create their own AI mascots. And recently, Puma in Morocco created an influencer called Leila. So now she's wearing Puma all the time. She knows all about the product. She's interacting with her followers. So a lot of brands will start creating their own AI personalities. And it has become much more accessible than previously. So mascots, very few brands have. But I think now with AI, a lot more people will have these AI personalities that are exclusive to the brands.
Brands doing this, Myntra did it. Myntra started a virtual
Yes.
fashion influencer, but they had to shut it down.
So Myntra created Maya. This was before Gen AI. This was all in 3D. I think 3D is a challenge. It's not possible for everyone, especially brand which doesn't have a dedicated team of 3D artists doing it. The people who are doing it with the AI have continued it. Audi has one. Audi in Europe has one AI. Puma has Layla. I think 3D was a challenge, but with AI, brands will continue it. Even Myntra, if you go to Myntra's app, Maya is there. So you can talk to Maya about fashion advice and all. So although they have continued the social media content,
Right.
but it's still there on the app in terms of conversations and all. I think 3D was a challenge, but content creation is much easier now with AI. With companies like us, and there are other companies that will start offering this service that, hey, we can create your own KYRA. So definitely we will see more of this happening. I agree that no brand has been able to do it well. I think it's a matter of execution. I don't think it's a matter of technology. Not commenting on what Myntra did or any other brand did, but I feel there's a huge potential that you can create a really solid brand ambassador that's AI, that's on 24/7, that is creating great content for a brand.
Let's talk about great content for brands. I was looking at both the Instagram and YouTube of KYRA's. The last brand collaboration that I saw post was in January 2024. That got me thinking a little because I did a lot of research. And in 2023, you guys had multiple brand collaborations and with big names. Boat, L'Oreal, Realme, so many. But then I got to thinking the last brand collaboration was Jan 2024. Why the dip?
Right. So again, most of our past 6 to 8 months have been the process of transferring from 3D to AI. So we have been receiving a lot of brand collaboration requests, and we've been saying no.
All right.
Because it's a painful process for us also, right? For 2-3 months, we didn't create content because we could have taken the brand collaborations, did it in 3D, made money. But we knew we had to do this. We had to switch from 3D to AI, and it was a painful process. It took us a lot of months. Now we are at a place where we are comfortable creating content with AI. There are certain limitations when it comes to AI, that you cannot show the product in a certain way. It cannot recreate the product because it is generating. But now we have been able, with technology, we have been able to overcome those. So now we are in discussion with brands again. So we actually had to say no to brands, but it was definitely the right decision. So what would have taken us 30 days or 15 days to make a brand collaboration video now will take us a week or less than 3 to 4 days. So that is why we haven't done brand collaborations. We are in talks with a few major brands, so you'll be seeing some campaigns. I cannot reveal everything right now, but in the few years, in the next few months. Also, we really want to focus on the human AI part, because we don't solely want to rely on brands. We think there's huge opportunity when it comes to human AI interaction with characters like KYRA, and that is something that we have been working on a lot compared to just brand collaborations.
So basically in 2024, collaborations took a bit of a backseat to get the technology sorted.
Yes.
Right. Content and even neutral content, not just collaborations. This is something that you mentioned multiple times as well. When I was looking through the page, I saw so many of the posts and reels of 2023, and the traction that was coming in was incredible. I mean, 50, 60, 70,000 likes was the norm, and there was great traction. Then I looked at some of the posts of the recent days, and I looked at the last 10, 15 posts, and I saw a bit of a dip. In the last 10, 15 posts, I saw 2 with 3,000 plus likes, and all the others had 1,000 to 2,000 likes. If I can ask you, Himanshu, why has the dip in the traction happened?
So I think we are all on the mercy of Instagram algorithms. So it can randomly change. Some of the posts that have, so we have posts that have 100 million views, 150 million views. Some of them are promoted by media budgets from the brands. So there's definitely a lot of media budget on the branded posts that have come in. And of course, they're putting in the media budgets because they're getting ROI from those content pieces. In terms of KYRA, I would say some of the posts have gone viral organically. They have 10 million, 15 million views. Again, it's Instagram algorithm, right? You post 10, one of them goes viral, and that gives you most of the results. I think we still get we have 250,000 followers. We get 100K views on most of the reels, which is more than what usual influencers get. Again, I think it's a combination of algorithm, and we have to be better at content as well. Not every post is going to be a hit. Sometimes we feel that this post is going to go great, this is going to get millions of views, and it gets 100K views only. So it's a matter of algorithm, managing the trends. For example, we did a trend which was a meme format going on. It got 3 million views instantly. You never know what's going to work. So it's a matter of posting consistently and creating great content.
During the Shark Tank episode, this was something that Aman Gupta had mentioned, that there is a possibility of the novelty wearing off in some time in the future. Is that something that you guys have thought of? And if yes, what are some of the things that you all are doing to ensure that the novelty doesn't wear off?
So at that point, I don't agree. I think if you look at the 3D lens, it's technology catching up to imagination. If you think of, we have always been fascinated by virtual characters. If you look at Jarvis, if you look at computer in Star Trek, if you look at all these fictional characters, this has been a concept in human consciousness. So people are always fascinated by it. I think it's our responsibility to use technology to catch up to the imagination. I think with Gen AI, it's bigger than ever. There is no novelty. I think this is a deep rooted human concept. And with Gen AI, it's actually possible to realize this concept. So if you see the kind of conversations people are having with KYRA, if you talk to KYRA yourself, you'll realize that there is no novelty. It's a truly unique product. And we are at the start of this technology, right? Imagine 5 years, 10 years from now. So we're not looking at a 1 year horizon. We are looking at a much longer horizon. So right now you're talking to KYRA on text, then you'll talk to KYRA through voice, then you'll talk to KYRA through video call, then maybe you'll talk to KYRA in a metaverse situation. But again, it's based on the human concept that you want to interact with machines in a personalized manner.
I want to ask you some of the examples that you mentioned, say Jarvis, for example. Jarvis became so popular. Off the top of my mind, I think there was that relationship with Tony Stark. Say even for Kalki, the relationship with Prabhas had with Shibu, which was the AI helper that Prabhas had, or even Star Trek's computer that you manage. Yeah. That relationship with another person, that is a real person. Is that something you guys have in mind as far as the storytelling is concerned?
Right. So like I said, your KYRA will be very different from my KYRA.
Right.
So KYRA will understand. If you talk to her, you say that, hey, I have a cricket game today. She'll wish you luck, and then tomorrow she'll ask you, how did the game go? How many sixes did you score? So she will gradually form a relationship with the person, and every person will have a unique KYRA. So that is what we are working on right now. That is what most of our focus is going on. And definitely we feel that similar to what we have seen in these fictional stories, the AI-human relationship will be something very similar.
So I can think of from your words that the AI-human relationship that you guys are planning to come up with is literally going to be very individualistic.
Yes.
Each person being the human itself and their relationship with KYRA.
Yes.
Okay. There was one more thing that all the sharks mentioned during the episode, and that was something that you have spoken about multiple times as well, as to how important it is for future that the visuals look very photorealistic.
Yeah.
Now, this was something that the sharks mentioned, that the visuals look a little animated. They're not looking that photorealistic. And this was about a year and a half back,
right,
when you guys shot the episode. Even now, when we look at the visuals, it's not looking as photorealistic. For example, some of the international AI influencers that you mentioned, like Lil Makela. So how are you guys trying to correct that? The visuals looking as real as possible.
Right. So I think ever since we have shifted to Gen AI, we are there. I don't think that is a concern for us anymore. Previously in 3D, we agreed, like it was 70% there. But with Gen AI, I think the visuals have come to a photorealistic level. Again, the answer is to use the latest models, to use whatever technology is coming up. For example, right now, video models, their resolution is limited to, let's say, 1080p or 720p. Now we are using upscalers on top of that to improve the quality. gradually what will happen, these models will only output 4K resolution, etc., and you'll not be able to tell at all. I think it's at a stage that you'll not be able to tell if this is a real person or not. If you look at the last 10 posts since the shift of 3D, it looks completely real. The environments look completely real because Gen AI model work on the diffusion technology, right? It's actually recreating from all the data they have of real images. I think the realism factor has gone. So I don't see that as a challenge anymore in terms of what Future Studios is doing.
Okay, let's talk about, I don't know if you guys planned it like that or not, but let's talk about KYRA's sister, Shravya.
Right.
She's not actually KYRA's sister, but let's tell us a little about Shravya. How did Shravya's character start?
So Shravya is KYRA's manager.
Manager.
Yeah. So I think LinkedIn has been one of the great platforms in the past 3-4 years that has grown, that has given us a lot of opportunities, whether it's brand collaborations or investors that we might want to talk to. So we saw that LinkedIn is something that will be valuable to us, and we wanted to create a LinkedIn influencer. That is where the idea of Shravya came up, and it made sense that she's the manager of KYRA. She sort of became the first virtual employee of Future Studios. So we really wanted to have a presence on LinkedIn as a virtual character. And she has about 15,000 connections on LinkedIn. We haven't spent as much time as we have on KYRA, on Shravya. But even then, just by organic posting, she has about 15,000 connections. How we are approaching Shravya is in AI, there are 5 levels of AI, which OpenAI talks about. There's bots, there is agents, there is thinkers, there is, in the end, it's a whole organization. So we are treating Shravya as an agent. So we have built an in-house tool where you give Shravya a topic, for example, OpenAI latest news. The agent will go on the web. It will search about all the latest news that's out there. Then another agent will take that and make it into a research paper. Then another agent will convert it into a LinkedIn post, and another agent will post it. So she is acting like an AI agent, which is what everyone has been seeing it right now, that from chatbots, we are going to agents. So Shravya, we're sort of treating it as an experimentation character for us. So whatever new technology comes in. So before Gen AI, we applied Gen AI to KYRA, we actually applied Gen AI to Shravya. So we created a consistent character, Shravya, in terms of visuals. So we are currently experimenting on the agentic line with Shravya.
How is Shravya different from KYRA?
So Shravya is 26 years old. KYRA is 21 years old. She is more corporate, so to say. She talks about startups and marketing. She manages KYRA. So her approach right now is that if you're a brand manager, you would talk to Shravya and you would discuss ideas with Shravya on how we can work with KYRA. So it's a completely different character. KYRA is like a fashion model, and Shravya is like a corporate manager who knows about startup, who knows about marketing.
Can say if somebody comes to Shravya on LinkedIn DM and asks a question like, can you please show me graphic designer jobs in Mumbai area? Will that be possible?
Right now, we're not treating her like that.
Okay.
Right now, she's an agent for posting content on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So this is an internal tool. We are thinking of whether we release it for everyone out there. How it would work is you would ask Shravya that, hey, I'm a marketer. I want to grow my LinkedIn presence. What should I do?
Right.
She will, just by one command, she will make the 30 posts for you. She will find the relevant images and she will schedule them for you. That is how we're approaching it. Just by one command, we can do from one click to a post on LinkedIn. That is what we're already doing right now internally, but we are seeing if we want to release this publicly or not. But that is what is possible through agentic applications of AI.
And this will be a paid subscription, for sure.
It'll similar freemium model, like 5 posts could be free, and then if you like the product, you
Nice.
can buy it. Yeah.
Interesting. And this is something that both individuals and organizations can use.
Yes, I think this is agentic applications of AI. Everyone is moving towards it because at a certain point, we need AI to do the actual work also. It cannot just be talking to AI. We want that AI starts doing some of our busy work as well, whether it's filling Excel files or whether it's posting on social media. So that is going to be huge, and both organizations and individuals are going to use it.
Besides influencers, you have mentioned in the past exploring customer care executives and sales agents. Can you share any upcoming projects or use cases?
So we always look at it from the lens of a personality. That if KYRA is there, she's talking about a product. She can be, I won't say customer care executive for KYRA because that's not her personality, but she can be an evangelist for the product. She can talk to you about its features. So if it makes sense for the character, then we can go into that direction. So Shravya could be your LinkedIn growth expert. So customer care executive, we don't want to directly go into that, but if it makes sense for a character, the technology is there. There are many companies doing it, but we always want to look at it from the lens of a character and a personality.
I want to ask you, what is coming next from Future? More IPs, more characters? What all can we expect?
So definitely we are focused on the human AI interaction part. So we will give people more ways to interact with KYRA and Shravya and more characters. So more characters and more ways to interact with these characters are coming.
I want to ask you, you mentioned multiple times long form content. So what all have you guys planned? Is there a web series that we can expect, a mini series on some OTT platform or on YouTube? What are some of the plans in lined up?
You have it right. We are exploring in the direction of mini series where we'll have multiple AI characters, we'll have a proper story, and everything will be AI generated. So we don't want to do half measure, that we do some of it through, let's say, deep fake or through real shoot. We want everything, even from the B-roll to the human to the lip sync, everything to be AI. So we are exploring mini series. I think platform will decide when that is ready, whether to host it ourselves on YouTube or whether to host it on a OTT. There has been interest from OTT platforms to have AI generated content. So we are definitely exploring that.
Okay, I'll do this again. I want to ask you the outcome of the Shark Tank episode. I mean, the funding from the episode didn't come, but what else did that episode lead to?
So I feel Shark Tank adds a lot of credibility to your startup. So by the time the episode aired, we were hiring. So if you tell the person that you're hiring that, hey, we've been Shark Tank, and of course they'll discover it themselves because they'll search about the company. It gives a lot of credibility. Hey, this company has been on Shark Tank. And it has helped us whether to hire people, whether to go to vendors, go to brands that, hey, you've been on Shark Tank, whether we go international if we're working with one of these AI companies that we want beta access to your models, if we show that we've been on Shark Tank. So that platform gives a lot of values. Even in terms of just pure numbers, after the episode aired, we gained about 30,000-40,000 followers on KYRA's page. Even now, we get calls that we saw you on Shark Tank, can you help us with AI influencers, etc. So in the long term, it has helped us a lot. And I think it's only been 6-7 months. It will continue to help us. So that platform has given us a lot of credibility across all stakeholders.
How critical has venture funding been for Future Studios?
I think AI is quite expensive to train, to do anything. You require a lot of GPUs. So even now, it's like whatever funding we have, we are always looking for more. Anything in AI funding is needed. It's not like your traditional business, because before you actually start generating content or start launching applications, a lot of training has to go. So that part has been critical for us. Tech talent in AI is quite expensive. So we are still actively looking for AI engineers and full stack engineers. So funding has been crucial in that part.
Where and how did you get your first funding from?
We are funded by 100x.vc. It's similar to funding plus incubation model. So they train you for 1 month and then you have a demo day. So our first round of funding, it's a pre-seed fund that we raised from 100x. Right now we are actively raising for our seed round based on this human AI interaction concept.
Also, is Future Studios hiring?
Future Studios is hiring. We are looking for...
You can put across a pitch there.
So if you're an AI content creator, AI engineer, full stack engineer, web application developer, we are actively looking. So feel free to reach out on LinkedIn to Future Studios.
Lovely. You are a writer too, a published writer that too. You've written fiction, you've written poetry as well. As somebody who loves to read, I want to ask you this one question. That see the magic that some of the best writers create. You mentioned Harry Potter. So the magic that J.K. Rowling was able to create with Harry Potter's world. You mentioned Dan Brown. Can AI ever be able to match up to that magic of those writers?
I don't think so.
Me neither.
I think it's about the 80-20 principle. AI will be able to do that 80% of work, let's say. So writing your first draft is always not good, to put it politely. And then you make the second draft, third draft, six, seven drafts. So all that proofreading, all that grammatical work, all that revising, editing, I think AI will be able to do that 80% of the work. But that 20% of magic we can put in as humans. So that is what I believe in. I believe in augmentation and not replacement.
So, as far as Future Studios itself is concerned, how important is it in your vision as well to get that balance right, to get that balance of AI as well, but the creativity from the human minds and the human hearts as well?
Right. That's why we are going in the human AI interaction. Right? It's not about replacement. It's about augmenting your existing self with AI. So whatever you're doing, you can get KYRA's help. You can talk to KYRA. Whatever content we are creating, we are solely not relying on AI. It's a lot of human content creators, designers, fashion designers working on it, guiding the AI to put the final product out there.
You mentioned in a chat a few months back that in 2-3 years, people might be able to put in prompts and generate whole movies where they themselves star.
Yeah.
Now that got me thinking, because a lot of other people have spoken about as well, that if influencers and celebrities are doing it, great, people might be interested. But if not, and just regular people are doing it, who will even watch it? What will be even the point of those? And will the technology be that good to generate entire AI movies out of those?
So technology is already that good that you can generate 30 seconds of video, let's say, right? It's just a matter of now scaling that to 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and a whole movie. People love to share with their families, right? We have seen what happens on WhatsApp, what happens on Instagram, the share button. Everyone uses that. So it's not meant for general consumption. Everyone doesn't want to be an influencer, but they do want to share with their families, right? So if you can be in New York City near Statue of Liberty having an ice cream and you share that with your parents, you share that with your cousins, I think those will be the kind of applications that it will start off as. For personal consumption also, it might be possible. When it comes to Metaverse, you can have your own custom worlds. So one thing is having yourself in a movie. One thing is having the movie of your choice. So customization at a very, like you can have your own Christopher Nolan movie, whatever topic you want. So those will be the kind of scenarios we can explore. There's one science fiction series called The Orville, similar to Star Trek. There is a room in that which is like it's a metaverse sort of room where you come in and the guy says that this is the environment I want, this is the story I want. I think that is now catching up. Technology is catching up to that reality. So there will be multiple applications. And to be honest, I'm excited by all of them. I think all of them have interesting use cases.
You mentioned at the start of the podcast that you're a geek. And you seem to be a movie lover and a series lover as well. So I'm pretty sure you have watched Black Mirror.
I haven't seen Black Mirror.
Actually,
I've seen some of the episodes, not entirely. Yeah.
So basically, for those who don't know, it's a dystopian future where all hell breaks loose. AI plays a very important part in a lot of those episodes. I want to ask you, this is something you mentioned in former chats as well. What are some of the aspects of AI when it comes to the future which scare you a bit?
I think I am more in the direction of Star Trek than Black Mirror. One thing, like I said, is people misusing AI. So when it comes to, there are so many Instagram accounts that never tell it's AI. They are masquerading as a real person and they're manipulating people. One thing that's very scary is scam that already happens, that people pretend to be your known ones. So now it's much easier. You can actually impersonate someone. You can, so someone can just, because we are on podcast, right? Now that person, like some developer can easily take your likeness, your voice, your face, and can go on a Zoom call in real time and talk to your family, maybe go on a WhatsApp call, talk to your family. Hey, I'm in distress. Can you send me this money? So this is happening. People are trying this, and it'll become much and much easier to do this. So that is something that definitely is a scary consequence that we need to think about. How can we tackle this?
How can organizations and the people in command tackle this? How can they make sure that this doesn't happen or doesn't become rampage?
Right. So I think closed source companies, they already have things in place. For example, in Runway, if you put a known personality, like if you put Trump's image, for example, it will not generate it. It will stop generating it. But open source, you can never stop it, because open source code is very important, and it allows anyone to do anything with it because they can just download it locally on their system. So you can never truly stop it. I think again, I'll always come down. It needs to be transparent. People need to be transparent. If people are aware about that these things occur, then they can be on the lookout for it, and then they'll be able to tell, hey, this person is actually impersonating. So I think transparency, awareness is the way to tackle these, because you can never stop technology, right? People will always find ways. Even if you put some safeguards in place, people will find workarounds to tackle that, and again exploit it for their use cases.
All right, Himanshu, we are almost towards the end of the podcast. Just two last questions before we let you go. The second last one would be, coming 5 years, what is the future of AI influencers?
Right. So again, it's human AI interaction. We will. This is not just AI influencers. This is AI in general, AI companions, I would say. We will have a lot of companions. Everyone will have their own companions, whether it's KYRA or it's someone else. It will be personalized to you. It will be like your personal Jarvis, and there will be many ways to interact with it, whether it's text, voice, whether it's video, whether it's in a metaverse through a virtual reality headset.
Have you watched the movie Her?
I have watched Her, yes.
Has this thought ever come to you guys that when relationships like that will happen, won't human relations become far and far and far lesser?
So it's a balance again, I think. The key thing here is to be transparent that, our AI doesn't tell you, hey, don't talk to real people, just talk to me. So that is where our part comes in, that our AI will encourage people to have social interactions. So one thing that we have thought about is, let's say KYRA is talking to 1 million people, and she knows that this person will click really well with this person because she's talking to both of them. So she can actually connect people in real life as well. So that is the way we have, is to augment your reality to enhance your social relations rather than replace your social relations.
A very fancy personalized Seema auntie.
Sort of.
Last question before we let you go. One advice that you would want to give if a youngster comes to you who is a geek, maybe a tech enthusiast just like you, wants to create something in India, build it for the world, what will that advice be for you?
I think now is the time. We have 1 to 2 years where AI is going to be huge before someone else does it. Don't think about that, hey, I'm going to start in a year. I need to do this. I think now is the time. Don't think about it. Just start doing it.
Amazing. Just start doing it. This is the time. Thank you so much, Himanshu. That was lovely talking to you. Some great insights, some great, absolutely industrial insights from you as to what the future of AI personas, AI influencers can be like. Thank you so much. How was the podcast first for you?
It's been an amazing, great conversation.
Totally. Thank you so much. Guys, do tell us in the comments, how did you enjoy this podcast? Follow KYRA on Instagram and YouTube as well. And of course, for more such content just like this, keep watching The Hot Seat by A Media House. This is me, your friend Korak. I will see you guys in the next one.